The whole purpose of JavaScript is to mess with the browser's document object model. So JavaScript was built to run in the browser. It was built to manipulate the text that is the page. So the document model is like this thing that we can make changes to, and then the browser is rendering whatever is in the document object model. And so it manipulates the HTML document, and it is a object-oriented syntax where we say document.this, .this, 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 that we can hierarchically go and we can find all kinds of things. But the problem is the document object models aren't universal. It's universal that there is a document object model, and if you know the structure of the document object model for a particular browser, the syntax to get to a piece of a page is well understood. And so we can read and write this thing. And so it's, document.head.title.something or document.body.h1. And so there's this hierarchical structure that represents the page. But unfortunately, the shape of this picture is different for different browsers. So not all browsers represent their page exactly the same. The exact same HTML would produce a different document object model in different browsers. So you have to test your code over and over and over on each browser. If you are doing you're actually sort of just going straight down the document object model to find a form or a header one or something that's in there. And so you end up with these bugs. This is just a bug in Sakai, an open source project I work on, and all of a sudden you're just always seeing these Internet Explorer bugs because, if you're going deep into the code and using the document object model and you test it on Firefox, you test it on Chrome, and you don't test it on IE, then it blows up and you get all these ugly bugs. And so using the document object model directly is generally kind of tacky, right? It's just life's too short to deal with the vagaries of the difference between document object models. So the first thing that they added to JavaScript to make life a little simpler was a method called getElementById. And that allows you to mark a particular piece of the DOM with an ID tag. And that's why there can only be one ID tag anywhere in it. And then you can say, I'm not going to look down hierarchically to find this thing. Just go find the thing that has an ID of Fred and give me back that thing and let me manipulate that thing. So it's a way to, in effect, very simply query the document object model and find something by an ID tag. And so here's an example. So here is a string Chuck. It's wrapped in a span tag, and the span has an ID of person. Okay? And so here in my JavaScript, I say document. Everything starts with document. GetElementById, and then I give the ID that I'm looking for. And then that basically looks through the whole page, and it finds the thing that has the ID of person. And then, let me clear this. Then this little expression right here is this tag. So you basically have got yourself a handle. ST is the variable, this ST variable. That ST variable is a handle to that little part. Okay? And then you can do things. And we can do stuff to the outer part, the tag, and everything. But if we just want this HTML, we have to say, give me the inner HTML. So I say .inner HTML, and that dives into the tag and pulls out the actual HTML text. That's the child of that tag. And I can print that out, and I can also change it, right? I can also change it. So I can put it on the document getElementId person.innerHTML equals Joseph. Well, that is an assignment statement that's going to overwrite this part of the document object model and change it. And I have a couple log statements. So let's play with this particular one right here. This is JS12. Okay, so if we recall, it goes in, it finds the ID tag of person, then it prints out, let's switch to console. I can't, oh wait. Let me switch to console here. I mean, once the alert's up, I can't switch, right? Because the alert has taken over the whole browser. So I'm going to switch to console so I can watch it in console. And then I'm going to clear the console. And then I'm going to press refresh so that I can sort of watch it all happen in the console. Okay, so it looked up the span with ID equals person, pulled out the inner HTML, it both logged it in console.log, and it did it in an alert box. Okay? Now this browser is frozen. This browser is frozen because the alert box is up, and it's not going to do anything until we press OK. So I'll press OK, which means the JavaScript is going to start back up again. If you recall what it does, it first puts out a log that shows what kind of a thing that object is, that ST object, and then it changed it to Joseph. And you'll notice that it changed it to Joseph. Literally, my JavaScript code changed the document object model, and the browser is always rendering whatever's in the document object model. So my JavaScript changed the document object model, the browser's just poof, rendered it. So I'll do this in faster motion. So the original HTML had Chuck. We looked that thing up. As soon as I hit this OK, it's going to change it to Joseph, and it just changes to Joseph. Okay? So if I didn't have the alert, it would happen instantaneously. It would happen so fast you wouldn't see it. And I can use console.log to kind of keep track of stuff, right? And so you can sort of work through this thing and see all the stuff that's happening. I make it go in slow motion by putting this alert in. I could also use the debugger and a breakpoint if I wanted to see that. But I just want to stop it. So this is looking it up, pulling stuff out, and logging it, and then it alerts to stop it mostly, and then it changes it and continues on. Yeah. So here's another one that basically is sort of combining an on-click. And so what's going on here is I have two links. It's probably easier just for me to show you how this works. This is JS 13. Oh. This is JS 13. Okay. So, if I look, the word stuff is in here. Oops. So, I have a span. ID equals stuff. And I have an on-click, the word back and forth, right? So I do a document get element ID stuff, inner HTML equals the string back. If I click on that, then I return false. Remember, you got to return false. And then if you click on forth, it's going to change that text to be forth. So what I'm doing is I'm overwriting this stuff, right? I'm grabbing it, and I'm going to change it to back. Then I'm going to change it to forth. I'm going to change it to back, and then I'm going to change it to forth. And this is all done on these clicks. But it starts out coming from the server with stuff there, right? Because that's what's in there in the first place. Then I click on this href, and it changes the DOM to be back. And I click on this href, and it changes it to be forth. Okay? This won't be very exciting. I click on back, it looks it up in onClick, it looks it up and then changes it to the word back. Oh, sorry. There we go. Click on back, I click on forth. Now, I actually don't have any JavaScript to reset it back to stuff, unless of course I hit refresh, and then it pulls another copy from the server and it's its original form. These are just going back and forth and changing it. Okay? Fascinating. Hit the back and forth. Fascinating. Okay, and so that's basically causing things to happen as response to clicks. The previous example, we just sort of had straight line code that ran. Now we're going to see stuff that happens by clicks. Now, in an upcoming chapter/lecture, we will talk about Jquery. And this get element ID is sort of old school. Jquery is a library that was designed originally to greatly reduce the confusion between browsers. And we tend to use Jquery a lot. Lots of people just sort of assume Jquery now, but it is a library, and we will cover that in the future. But I want you to also see, before we do jQuery, I want you to see how we did it before jQuery existed, because you will see that kind of code, the get element by ID code. We tend not to do too much without jQuery, but sometimes you don't want that library and you want to do a real simple thing, so you kind of fall back to this code. Everything I've shown you so far does not require any libraries. Once you have jQuery, your JavaScript can be a lot simpler and more elegant. Okay? So thanks. See you in the next lecture.